My name is Andy Kerr. I'm the Director of Product Marketing for Bowers Wilkins. I work for the Southwater Research Establishment, the world famous SRE, alongside another 100 engineers from all different disciplines developing the new products that help drive Bowers Wilkins. Today we are inside the control room in the most famous studio, Studio 2, inside the world's most famous recording studio, Abbey Road Studios. This is where recordings began. This is the world's first purpose-built professional recording studio. Opened in 1931. This place has been the heartbeat of recording innovation for many, many years. What I would say when you come in here is that each room has its own unique character, its own defined sound. And on top of that, they have all this incredible bank of instruments and microphones and other things that have been used to help contribute to the recording process. Very often, modern recordings are made here using recording studio equipment, which is actually 40 or 50 years old, because the artist wants to be able to say, I made my album using the same microphone as John Lennon. So the link between Abbey Road Studios and Bowers Wilkins goes back many years, in fact, right to the start of the company. John Bowers was determined to make loudspeakers that were good enough to be used by both professionals and by demanding home listeners. So he actually hired a technical manager who worked for EMI, the parent company of Abbey Road Studios, to help him develop drive units for use in some of his loudspeakers. Many years later, in 1980, that resulted in the 801 loudspeaker being installed here as the monitor loudspeaker of choice. And we're proud to say the two brands have worked closely together ever since. Even now, as you can see, we have the latest generation, the 801 D4, being used as a monitor loudspeaker here. The speakers that are installed and used here are identical to the speakers that we sell for people to use at home. There's no difference. There's no dedicated professional model. The whole idea of what we're trying to do is produce a loudspeaker that can fulfill both functions. It can be both suitable for professionals and also suitable for people who like just listening to music at home. Of course, I won't say it's cheap. An 801 loudspeaker is, we understand, an expensive thing because it requires that to deliver the very high performance. But nonetheless, if you have an 801 at home, it's the same as the model that you'd find here. I think if we had one regret, it would probably be that Bowers Wilkins was founded in 1966, and by that point we were already halfway through the era of the Beatles. But nonetheless, when we were installing the loudspeakers here in 1980, we formed our own great history, working alongside such talented artists as Pink Floyd, Radiohead, many more in terms of music, and also equally contributing amazingly to film scores, including one of the very first feature film scores to be recorded here in, again, 1981, Raiders of the Lost Ark. So although we missed out on the Beatles, we've still got plenty of other exciting stories to tell. Professionals that are working here are trying to hear as accurately as possible what's coming through the monitor without any change being introduced. In your home, that would be different. Your home room would have an effect. Just like if you come from here out onto the live room, it sounds different as well. So the electronics won't change. Your room will change how you hear the sound. What we try to do from an engineering point of view is to deliver what we call the true sound of the recording, the most honest version possible. So I think rather than saying that we have a specific sound, I would say what we have is a faithful sound to what comes from there through this desk out to the monitors. So our job is to help the guys who work here deliver a more realistic version of the experience out there in the live room. So it's not so much a character of a sound as an honesty of a sound. The interesting thing about working with a recording studio in a monitor space like this is you absolutely understand the acoustics of the environment. We understand typically where the person working with the speaker is also going to be sitting, because they're normally sitting here at the console. So that helps us in some senses. The variation with a home system, of course, is we don't really understand so much about what your room might be, what kind of other equipment you might have. But I would say equally there's another side to it, which is that the demanding people who work here can really easily spot and identify problems because they have very highly trained ears. They're very experienced listeners. So it's very valuable for us to work here. We're very fortunate. We form good relationships with a lot of the engineers here. And I think that in turn sometimes passes through to the performers as well. We do have a good number of performers. I can't and won't name drop because that's not fair, but there are a good number of performers that we know use our equipment at home, and we're very privileged for that. But I think it's important also to understand that this is a working environment, right? So for a lot of people, they're treating the loudspeaker as a tool in the same way as a microphone or indeed a mixing console. So the thing they value most is, does it do its job? Me,
Yeah.
I have 800 series from Bowers Wilkins. Oh, well, currently I have a pair of 804s. I've had various models over the years. I have Bowers Wilkins 800 series loudspeakers because I'm very privileged to work for the company. I like the way that they sound. I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by incredibly talented engineers, my colleagues, who do amazing work. One of my favorite experiences, and also one of the frustrating ones, is every time you go in the listening room, you learn something new and you hear something new. So there's always a better loudspeaker coming, but that's why we do it, right?